My people, it's about that time.
Like a boss.
Live from USA, helping you get paid every day. This is the boss of Bitcoin, the Cristo of crypto. It's your boy BK. And if you don't like me, you must not like money. Thank you for joining me, everybody. Today we are looking at a live price prediction from a few notable names in the industry, predicting that Bitcoin will hit $1 million in the near and dear future. So if this is your first time tuning in, congratulations, baby. You are now rocking with the best. My name is BK, also known as a crypto trader, and I'm the boss of these charts, as you will soon find out. Every day I grace this microphone with my voice is another day you get to profit as a result, and today is no exception. So if you haven't done it already, smash that like button and subscribe. I try to make a video as often as possible to help you make money in the market. And by the way, we give away free Bitcoin. Every single video is a new chance to win. Every single Friday, I pick a random video, a random comment, and bam! It's just that easy to get paid. So show me some love in the comments. Let me know where in the world you are watching these video from. And good luck to you trying to win some free Bitcoin. So let's go ahead and make this money. So this is BTC to the USD. We zoom out to a daily. Essentially, this is our cycle. Breakout to breakout. Boom, boom. Right? And from that, we kind of get this capstone right here between 4.6 and 4.2. I've said this on a few other videos already, but as long as we're north of 50,000, 49 flat, 48.5, somewhere in there, we will continue. This chart will want to continue to go up and to the right. So that's a huge drop. This market would have to sell off something furious to break this pattern that it's in right now. This is simply kind of like a consolidation before another huge bull run, and that's what I'm looking at. I'm looking at alt season 25. I'm looking at where is this money about to flow to next, and this is a very, very interesting point in time. I think we have viability for blockchain through traditional financial vehicles now. We didn't have that 2 or 3 years ago, and we got some notable figures advocating $100 million, or I'm sorry, $1 million per Bitcoin in the near and dear future. This is from Robert Kiyosaki, renowned financial author. Robert Kiyosaki has recently forecasted Bitcoin to have a price of $500,000 by next year. This was written just today. So next year, and up to 1 million before the end of the decade. I think this part is extremely optimistic, but this part may be a little bit more reasonable. We can jump into this real quick. It says Kiyosaki issued his bold forecast in a recent commentary on the financial market in a post on X. He drew attention to a forthcoming book by fellow financial expert Jim Rickards titled Money GPT. I haven't talked about this on this channel, but one thing I think Robert Kiyosaki, if you're not familiar with this guy, he is one of the foremost influencers, I'll say at this point, for American ingenuity and kind of personal finance. He wrote this book back in the day called Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And if you haven't read it and you're interested in learning more about finance and wealth preservation and creating generational wealth and changing your life for the better financially, this is kind of one of those, groundbreaking books that did that for a lot of people, including myself. I read this book back in 2008. I was a waiter in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and during my breaks from work, I would read this book, and it kind of opened my eyes to different opportunities and ultimately prepared me for the role that I have now. So it's a revolutionary book. I highly recommend it if you haven't read it, if you're not familiar with this guy. Essentially, he grew up in a world where he had two dads. His mom remarried, and so his biological father was, for all intents and purposes of the word, as he uses it, his poor dad, and his stepfather was his rich dad. And he noticed the dichotomy of their psychology, their personalities, the actions they taken, the attitudes they had towards money, and he wrote a book about it, basically polarizing the two and building his own ideology as a result. I think it's very influential, up there with Think and Grow Rich and, a few others. But I think it's kind of like a generational timepiece. So it's definitely worth to read if you haven't seen it already. So now he does videos. He's got, a couple 100,000 subscribers on YouTube, and he does his little podcast, and he just sits back and talks about the economy for years. I will say this, from 2017 on through probably about 2021, he was not pro Bitcoin. I think a lot of those older guys was tied up in gold and, waiting to see gold jump and real estate, that he didn't advocate for Bitcoin right away. But, you know what I'm saying? I said the doors are always open. We will welcome them with open arms. And now he is pro BTC. And he's saying $1 million before 2030. Again, I think the 500K by 2025 is overly optimistic. I think we definitely can break 100K next year. But to be honest, I think the opportunity is on the altcoins. But this is not the first time we've heard $1 million Bitcoin. That was kind of like the catchphrase, during the last big alt season from 2017 on through 2019, when Bitcoin went from 3,500 to almost 60,000. It's crazy. It was crazy. This lady, Kathy Woods, has, this is going back a lot farther. This is going back to 2022. I think she really stated this back in the, right around 21. So back when Bitcoin was really about 20,000, 22, 25,000. She made these remarks in a Bloomberg interview, but she said it's actually based on a report from Ark Invest. Stock to flow is kind of like the price forecasting that a lot of price statistical analysis use. And it did indeed support the claim that Bitcoin can reach $1 million by 2030, right? This image shows how they calculated the $1 million price. And this is why I included this in this video. I think it's important because Bitcoin has so many viable uses in society. Bitcoin market cap at the time they did this was $1.1 trillion, 2021, right? Today, Bitcoin sits around 1.3. So it's gone up a little bit, 200 million since this, but it's still relative. So all things considered, this is really the path of least resistance to get $1 million per Bitcoin. You got 7 different categories right here: the gray, the green, the blue, and they each account for a little bit of demand, right? Remittance network. Bitcoin needs to be 50% of the global remittance at 1.5x velocity. I'm not exactly sure what that means, but I think remittance is really accounting for the money, that's spent in macro economies, and they're attributing $0.3 trillion market cap, and that will essentially be 14,000 Bitcoin, or $14,000 per Bitcoin. Why did they do it like that? That's interesting. I think, that has to add up to 1.36 million. Okay. Emerging market currency. We started to see a little bit of this with San Salvador. San Salvador, if you don't know, recently declared their sovereignty. And they've been buying Bitcoin for 4 or 5 years, right? I think 3 years. So recently they just said they don't have any more debt. You know what I'm saying? They don't need no fiat currency. I mean, they'll use it to be polite and to avoid any, financial conflict, because that seems to be a going trend now. If you don't support the central bank, well, your country got a war coming. Sound like you could use some democracy over there. So San Salvador is, basically debt-free. Living free and clear, and they have been buying Bitcoin for the past few years. So I think more countries, especially in quote third world areas, are going to be following suit. And they say if we just get 10% of the M2, that's going to be another $2.8 trillion to the market cap. I think this is the big takeaway right here. Bitcoin needs to get down. Bitcoin needs to get up to 28 or 30. Actually, let's just round it down. $25 trillion in order to get to $1 million per Bitcoin. Right now, we're only at $1 trillion and we're sitting north of 50,000. So you can see how it just scales up. If we scale it 20 times, by definition, we'll be north of $1 million, right? And they have all these other different categories. National, state, treasury. You got King Bobblehead has said something towards this measure to where we can start paying off the debt with Bitcoin. We can buy Bitcoin instead of holding dollars as a national treasury. Institutional investment, this is where you start to get BlackRock and MicroStrategy in on the table. They're already in. So you probably got, maybe 500, 400 million sitting in that bucket right there. I think this is probably the low-hanging fruit because companies are in business to make money. Bitcoin is a wealth-generating asset, the best wealth-generating asset of all time. And so it's kind of like low-hanging fruit for them. Okay, well, let's put in 10 million, see what happened. Okay, we made 10 million on that 10. Well, okay, let's put in 100, see what happened. And it just cycles through. Corporate treasury, that's going to be a bit more, I think, that's probably going to take a while. That's basically corporations buying Bitcoin and holding it as a part of their strategic long-term growth portfolio. I think after more institutions have proven the concept of buying Bitcoin, holding it, then you'll start to see it. But I think it's going to be a fast follower ideology to where when one company does it, another one, another one, another one, another one, another one. And it's going to be a domino effect. And that's when you're going to see Bitcoin just skyrocket. When these institutions and these fiduciaries start buying it by the droves, that's when the price will literally be unfathomable. Right? And then the last is digital gold. They're talking about 50% of gold's total market cap needs to be anchored in BTC. Right now, gold, and I think this is pretty some low-hanging fruit too. Right now, they have about 18 trillion in gold. And if we can match that 50%, that gives us 8 trillion, a little bit over 8 trillion right now. So that basically gives us Bitcoin, 300,000. If we can multiply this thing by 4 or 5, that definitely puts us up there. Actually, that would be multiplied by 8. So 7 times 6, Bitcoin 400K, right? So if we just had gold, half of the market of gold, Bitcoin would be 400,000 right now, easily, probably north of 500,000, right? And so you can start to see how these different facets of macroeconomics come together. But still, how Bitcoin has value to each and every single one of them. That is the revolution in itself. Never before have we had one asset that can attribute itself to so many different various parts of our financial system. Bitcoin solves a lot of problems, and I think $1 million is still cheap because this is the reality. Right? When you have a currency that has been intentionally devalued over time, systematically over time, since the creation of the Federal Reserve in 1916, the dollar has lost 97 to 98% of its value. Which is crazy. That's why you can look into these Americana shops, right, from back in the day. That's it right there. Purchasing power of the dollar. Back in the early 1900s. I don't know. I feel like it lost a lot more than that. A dollar in 1913 had the same buying power. No, that's not true. Hold up. They be trying to sugarcoat stuff. That's not accurate enough at all. There it goes. It's crazy. It just devalues itself time and time and time and time and time again. And this goes from Bretton Woods. This goes from, the gold standard. This goes in the crypto. It's like, if you ever seen that movie Time with Justin Timberlake, right? And the reason they casted him is because he is just in time. But it kind of hints on this. It's like everything, and we see this right now, like everything gets more expensive while the money they pay us gets smaller, right? And it's a lose-lose scenario. But Bitcoin basically turns that upside down. It says, just believe in me. You know what I'm saying? And receive this value. It's crazy. But it's like the whole world has been bamboozled. And we think it's normal to die broke. We think it's normal to live check to check, week to week, hand to mouth, foot to spoon. We think it's normal to be depressed, distressed, and then in disarray. Like, it doesn't have to be that way. We have a more viable future. Countries are proving it. Fiduciaries are proving it. MicroStrategy is proving it. BlackRock is proving it. And now we have a path that has been illuminated to allow us to see $1 million per Bitcoin. And that comes in some of the largest facets of macroeconomics currently available and accessible in this world. It shows you the diversity of Bitcoin and the multi-use application that blockchain technology facilitates to this world. Period. DT. Period. Right? So there you go, everybody. That's what I got. That's the pathway to $1 million. Is it gonna hit by 2030? What would be the easiest path? Would it be gold? Would it be third world countries? We need a couple of San Salvadors. Brazil go jump on Bitcoin. We know Germany sold theirs. So that maybe that's why they call it the third world, because the first world was like Rome and the aristocracies that came from over there, and maybe even Egypt, and those ancient civilizations, and then we had the quote new world, and I think that's what they call America. But then it's gonna go to we got 1 + 2, so then I think it's supposed to go to the third world next. Ain't they supposed to be getting the money next? Ain't that's why you seeing so many opportunities present themselves in China and South America? Ain't that why they have the BRICS, which is going to completely bypass the dollar? If you don't know what the BRICS is, BRICS, that is the new currency that is being built out behind the scenes. This is happening right now. Already happened. It stands for Brazil, Russia, India, China, South America, and everybody in between except the United States. And it's the new currency for the, quote, third world. So get ready. This is happening right now. You know what I'm saying? I'm just trying to show you guys the path on how we can, profit as the greatest transformation of wealth in the history of humanity. I'm going to come back with some more videos. If you want to see a chart, leave that in the comments too. I saw somebody wants me to do a helium update, so I will have that out to you guys this week. And with that being said, we go keep this thing on wheels and keep on rolling. Thank you for joining me. With that being said, everybody, it's that time of the day. Signing out. Boss. Boy BK, no matter where you stay, Brazil to Bay, California, all the way back out through Germany. Good night, good morning, and good day. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for your time. Hit that thumbs up button for a player one time. Do that for me if you appreciate mine. Till we meet again, stay cryptic, y'all. Peace.
Like a boss.
Huh?